And just to shed a lot of light on those two draws from the Super Eagles in the 2026 FIFA World Cup Qualifiers, we've got Afrosport's director, Deji Omotoyinbo, joining us. On Friday, we had Wahid Akani on the show, the former Super Eagles player, and he talked about just how he felt the Super Eagles would be motivated for the game, the second game against Zimbabwe. Fortunately, that didn't happen. 2 games played, 2 draws in a group that, when the draws were made, you'd probably expect the Super Eagles to be fairly comfortable.
If Nigerians were to make the draws, the Super Eagles won't get an easier group. Yes, South Africa, with all due respect, but we thought it was going to be a 2-horse race between Nigeria and South Africa. And the basic idea was win all your home games, try and grab wins against Lesotho and Zimbabwe away from home, with all due respect, and try and make sure that maybe you don't lose to South Africa and Republic of Benin when you play away. All that has been thrown out of the window, all those permutations. We've just made a difficult task doubly difficult. Because now it's like you're condemned to making sure you win all the remaining games. South Africa have won the first game against Republic of Benin. They play tomorrow. If South Africa win that, as I think they expected to against Rwanda, we're already 4 points behind after 2 games. So we are starting to play catch-up, and that's the worry.
There was a lot of talk about team selection, the actual players who were invited by the coach. There's also the small matter of whether the coach is good enough to handle the Super Eagles. From a team selection perspective, although, yes, you can say we didn't have Victor Osimhen, we didn't have Wolf and Didi in the team, but in terms of selection, could any more have been done?
Well, I think this dates back to Genodro days. I think we are fixated on picking the same set of players all the time. It's the same set of players, bar 1 or 2. And I think these guys have this confidence that they will get picked and they will play. And that's not good enough for a national team. And on what basis are we making this selection? With all due respect to Aribo played 90 minutes. Aribo, I do not think you can justify his position in the national team at the moment based on where he plays. We played friendly matches. The coach kept giving Uzoho playing time. It's like you're giving him time, then why are you inviting the other players? If one goalkeeper is not in form, the other goalkeeper should get a chance. So you keep giving a particular player or particular players chance after chance after chance. And also, I keep saying this, and I think a lot of Nigerians, what I call inferiority complex, I beg your pardon, but that's what it is. You cannot tell me that home-based boys would have performed worse in the goalkeeping department. I don't think a home-based team would get worse results than we've gotten in these 2 games. I honestly don't think so. So at the end of the day, you have to have your dragnet wide. We invited, long time ago, the young man that plays Olisanda, that plays in South Africa. We invited him. He's playing well. Suddenly, he doesn't get a look in. We are inviting players with Nigerian names and of Nigerian descent from everywhere. I think the problem is the fact that when it comes to foreign coaches, we can only afford a certain level of foreign coaches. And when you say that, then I'm sorry to say, why don't you stick to probably Nigerians that you can afford? Because at the end of the day, we are not getting the best for value for money with foreign coaches, with all due respect, back to draw to the present man. And we are fixating ourselves too much on non-homegrown talent. I do not think it's fair that we are not giving 3 or 4 slots to the home-based boys. I think in Africa, there was no fire. What angered most people? There was no fire in the belly in those 2 matches. You're losing or you need to get a win. There was an instance where I don't want to mention the player's name. The ball went into a throw-in in the first game, and the Super Eagles player turned back, walked into the pitch at 1-1, 5 minutes to go. What are you expected to do? Rush and grab that ball, So I don't know. It's still a long way to go. Maybe that's the only positive. There are still 8 matches to go. The next World Cup qualifiers are in June next year.
It's a long time.
But you look at it, there's a Nations Cup in between. With what we're saying, what can this team do at the Nations Cup? Plus, the spine of every team is the goalkeeper, the central defense, and maybe the defensive midfielder. That's the spine. That's where the strength of the team flows from. Right now, that portion of our team is very weak, and it's not a good foundation to build on.
And then there's always been this thing from Nigerian football supporters about just how good the Super Eagles team is. Everyone always says we have a lot of talent going forward.
It's unbalanced.
But we've watched 2 games where we've played notably very, very weak opposition. And we haven't really seen the strength of these so-called forward players that we all always waxing about.
I've told you, the spine of the team is weak. Every team knows that we can attack them. The fear factor is no longer there. And no matter how well played going forward, even if you're scoring the goals, if it appears like every time you concede a set piece or a free kick or a corner kick, a goal is likely to come, it weakens the team. And football is about attacking and defending. No matter how good we are going forward, if you don't do the defensive part, and if you don't have that foundation to lay on, no matter how good your strikers are, strikers only score when they get the service.
And a few bright spots for you, though. Yes, it was 2 draws, but did you see anything that you probably feel like we can hold on to?
The only thing I can hold on to is a long way to go. There are still 8 matches left. And we have to do a difficult job now. We know now that no more margin for error. I think the only way you can be guaranteed a qualification is to win all the remaining games, including home and away.
Can we win every other game in this group?
Well, that's what you have to do. Like I said, the good thing is that it's a long way to go. 6 months is a long time in football. I mean, or even 7 months. We're in November, and the next matches are in June. Let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen with the coaching thing. I do not think the NFF can afford to sack a coach. I'm not sure we have played Genodro that we sacked.
So the word is that the contract extension that he currently has runs till after the AFCON.
Okay, maybe, you go to the AFCON. After AFCON ends in February, the qualifiers are in June, maybe there's a bit of a gap. But what would the financial situation be like?
And where would you really go if you let him go?
Honestly, for me, go local.
But don't you feel like we've tried all the local guys?
They might not be the best. What I'm trying to say is that, but right now, where we are, you want to buy a Rolls Royce. Everybody loves a Rolls Royce. But you buy the car you can afford. We can't afford these guys, and we're getting the short end of the stick because we're not getting the quality foreign coaches. The World Cup, all the countries that went from Africa went with local coaches. Yeah. I'm not saying local coaches are the best, but in the financial situation we're in, that's a realistic option.
Will people say, okay, the absolute top...
Between me and you, do you think the local coaches can be worse than we're playing right now?
No, absolutely
I don't think so. So what are we talking about?
But people will tell you that it might be... We've tried Samson Siasa, we've tried Austin Eguavoin. In terms of the actual guys who are in the running to get the job
when we tried those guys, were their results worse than this before they got kicked out?
No, they weren't.
So what are we talking about? My own is, I'm not saying the local coaches are all of that. What I'm saying, realistically, when you talk about, we're paying this guy $50,000 a month. That was a reduction. That's how much in the current climate. That's like, I think, isn't that 50 million a month?
Yeah.
Does it make any sense? To me, he doesn't. Get a local coach, pay him 10 million. Then they know the terrain. The local coach will likely bring in 1 or 2 home-based boys. The foreign coach only thinks about all these guys. In Africa, these guys that we bring from different climes may not be able to cope with the pitch, the situation, the travel arrangement, and all of that.
I saw Nathan Teller in the first half against Zimbabwe, and he looked absolutely lost.
Exactly. So let's be realistic. Let's get a few boys who would fight to remain in the team. Right now, these guys are strolling the national team. They know they'll get picked. They know they'll pay. And we're not getting the best of them, to be honest with you.
All right,
but there's still time to...
One word before we go. Still optimistic we'll qualify, though?
Not very optimistic, but it's still possible.
Still possible.